Hello, second grade, and welcome to Unit 5, Week 2. Let's go ahead and get started with our vocabulary words for this week. Our first word is the word describe. So if you describe something, you're using words to tell about the thing. So you might describe a cat as small and fluffy. You might describe an orange as sweet and juicy. When you describe something, you're telling about it using words. Your second vocabulary word is the word patient. So when you are patient, you are calm when you wait for something. You're not jumping around, you're not upset. So when you're patient, you calmly wait for something and you do it in a nice, polite way. Next, we have the word amused. If something amused you, that means it made you smile or laugh. It made you happy. So if you see maybe a cute animal doing tricks, that might amuse you. If someone tells you a joke, that might amuse you. Next, we have the word peaceful. A peaceful place is calm and quiet. So peaceful comes from the word peace. It means calm and quiet and at ease. Next, we have the word imagination. So your imagination is you being able to see and picture things in your mind, to come up with ideas and pictures in your mind based on either just letting your mind wander or from reading something and trying to picture what it is that thing looks like in your head. Next, we have the word entertained. So if something entertained you, it pleased you, or it interested you. So this is kind of like amused, right? So entertained, when something entertains you, think of if you're watching a show or a movie, or if you're listening to a funny story, that'll entertain you. Next, we have the word cooperate. If you cooperate with someone, that means you're working together, you're helping each other out, you're working as a team to get something done. And our last word is the word interact. So when you interact with someone, you are talking with them or doing something with them. It's something that you do together. Let's take a look at our spelling words for this week. So this week we're working on more diphthongs and we're focusing on the ones that say oi. So OI and OY, both of those ones can make the same sound that says oi, like the word oil. So let's see what our spelling words are for this week. Your first word is the word soil, broil, moist, point, toil, oil, toy, joy, coin, noise, crown, mound, aisle, laugh, and maybe. So there's a rule that you can remember to help you figure out which one of these you use when you're spelling your words. So if you get stuck and you can't remember, do I use OY? Do I use OI? I'm not sure. What do I do? Remember, OI is found in the middle of a word. That means there's letters that come after it. And OY comes at the end of the word. So I have your rule highlighted here at the top of our page for you. So it's easy for you to find. So if your word has letters after your oi sound, it's going to be most likely spelled OI. And if your word ends with the oi sound, it's most likely spelled OY. So that's just a handy little trick to remember. All right, let's get into our ELA and grammar notes. So we've been talking about syllables in the past. We're going to talk about a special kind of syllable called the consonant LE syllable. Now, remember, a syllable is a word part that has a vowel sound in it. So every word has at least one syllable, and every syllable has at least one vowel sound in it. Now, some words have a final syllable that has a consonant and the ul sound. So the ul sound isn't only spelled LE, even though that's the way it is written for this rule. The ul sound can be spelled using LE, OL, EL, IL, and AL. So when you have a final syllable like that, you have the consonant and that ul sound, however it's made, together in that last syllable. They're not separated. So I'll give you a few examples. So if we have a consonant and the LE spelling, so we have the word crumble, tangle, You see in crumble, we have B as our consonant and then our LE. In tangle, we have G as the consonant and then LE. You see how those are in their own syllable. They're not split apart. Those ones stay together. So now the ol sound spelled OL, we have symbol or patrol, right? BOL, ROL as those final syllables. So the consonant and that ol sound are together. Now, consonant plus the EL spelling, so like tunnel or funnel, same thing. NEL is actually the final syllable for both of those. Now, examples of when we have that ol sound spelled as IL, you have the word fossil or tonsil. Both of those have the SIL as their final consonant. And then last, we have the AL spelling, like sandal or mammal. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is something that's actually a whole lot of fun. They're called idioms. And idioms are phrases that are found in lots of languages, which I think is really, really cool. They're phrases that have a different meaning than the words that are found in the phrase. So it's interesting, and these are things that are difficult a lot of times for someone who doesn't speak the language as their first language to understand, because what it means is different than the words that are in it. And these are things that you guys have heard or said already, and you just didn't have a name for it. And you'll see what I mean in just a second. So if I tell you, don't worry about the test, it's a piece of cake. It's a piece of cake means it's easy, right? We learned that because of how it's being used. We learned that phrase isn't actually, we're not saying the test is actually made of cake. We know that it's a piece of cake is a phrase that people say, it's a saying that people have to show us that something is easy. If I tell you, be careful, we don't want the noise in the classroom to get out of hand. So when I say I don't want something to get out of hand, I'm saying I don't want it to get out of control, where it's too much and it's difficult to control. If I tell you, I know you can do it, go ahead and give it a shot. If I say give it a shot, I want you to try it, right? Try out the thing that you're hesitating about or that you're not sure about. Now, if I say our class pulled together and they completed their beach cleanup project. Pull together means they cooperated or they chose to work together as a team, right? And that goes back to some of our vocabulary words earlier. So when you pull together, you're working together, you're cooperating, you're becoming a team to work together to achieve a specific goal. You have a thing that you want to do, you have a thing in mind that needs doing, and you get together and you make it happen as a team. And if you come up to me and say, Miss Zaina, I didn't get my sticker yet for finishing my work early. And I say, oh, I'm so sorry, it slipped my mind. So if I say slipped my mind, we know that that means I forgot. So it doesn't actually slip in my mind, right? Nothing slipped around in there, but it means that I forgot to do whatever it was that you were telling me about. Now, if your mom tells you you need to do your homework or you're going to be in hot water, she's not actually putting you in hot water. She's not putting you in a bath. In hot water, that phrase means you're going to be in trouble. So be careful or you're going to be in hot water, or be careful, you're going to be in trouble. If I tell you, I knew that story by heart, or I knew those lines by heart. When you say you know something by heart, you don't know it because of the heart that's in it. You know it because you've memorized it. So when I say I knew something by heart, that means I memorized something. I don't need to read it anymore. It's all in my head already. Now, if someone tells you, make up your mind, or you made up your mind. When you make up your mind about something, that means you decided it. So if I say, I had to decide what I wanted to do. Did I want to color or did I want to paint? And I thought about it for a long time. Then I made up my mind to paint. So I'm telling you that that's the thing that I picked or I chose. That's what I decided on. Now, if you came to the class and you brought some delicious chocolate chip cookies and I tell you, wow, those cookies were such a big hit. I don't mean those cookies hit anybody. I mean those cookies were liked by everyone. They were such a big hit. Everybody enjoyed them. So next we have I'm all ears. So if you go up to your mom, you say, Mama, I've got an exciting story to tell you. And she says, go ahead, honey, I'm all ears. That doesn't mean she's covered in ears. It means that you have her full attention right now. She's listening to you. She's not doing anything else. She's not working on anything else. She stopped what she's doing and she's giving you all of her attention and listening to your story. Now, after all of these idioms and all of this talking, I think I'm ready to call it a day. So what does call it a day mean? It means I think I'm going to stop for now. I'm done. But we don't get to be done just yet because we're not finished with our language arts notes. But that's what that idiom means. So idioms are actually really cool. They're a lot of fun. Ask your parents. There's a real good chance that there are idioms in the languages that you speak at home. So see if you can figure out what some of the idioms in your parents' native language is. All right, we're going to talk a little bit more about pronouns. So we started pronouns last week, and we talked a little bit about the different kinds of pronouns. So if I'm talking about a girl, I say she. If I'm talking about a boy, I say he. If I'm talking about a group, I say they. If I'm talking about a group that I'm a part of, or me and someone else, I say we. And those are our subject pronouns. Now, if I'm mentioning them towards the end of my sentence, remember we talked last week, we said those are object pronouns. So the two subject pronouns we're going to focus on this week are I and we, and the two object pronouns we're going to focus on are me and us. So I and me work together. I comes at the beginning of the sentence, it's a subject, and then we use me, which is a different version of it, right? Towards the end of a sentence in the predicate. We and us are also talking about a group of myself and someone or some other people. So we comes at the beginning of the sentence in the subject, and us comes towards the end of the sentence in the predicate. So I don't say me like cookies, I say I like cookies. But I might say, do you want to eat cookies with me? So let's take a look at some of our example sentence. So I is singular. I and me is singular. It's talking about just me. But we and us are plural. It's talking about me and someone else or another group. So instead of saying I, we always use I to take the place of yourself when you're talking. And I is always written as a capital when it's by itself. So instead of me coming to and telling you Miss Zena is going to the park, that sounds silly if I'm talking about myself. And I would tell you I am going to the park. And we use we to take the place of a noun or pronoun that I am a part of. So my sister and I, so my sister is a noun and I is a pronoun. My sister and I played tag. Instead of saying that, I can say we played tag. It's a shorter way to show you that group. So these are our subject pronouns. Remember, you see these come at the beginning of the sentence. So they take over here, my name is at the beginning of the sentence. We replace it with I at the beginning of the sentence. My sister and I here is at the beginning of the sentence. I replace it with we at the beginning of the next sentence. Now, object pronouns are found in the predicate. They're in the second or later half of the sentence. So we use me to take the place of the speaker's name. So that's me. So I can say Miss Shaymat works with Miss Zena. I'm Miss Zena. So it would be silly if I said that. Instead, I would say Miss Shaymat works with me. Now for us, you use us to take the place of the name of the person you're talking to. Whoops. Yourself and a group or one other. So us is for yourself and one other person or for yourself and a group. So I can say Miss Jua asked me and Miss Shaymat to help. Instead of saying that, I can say Miss Jua asked us to help. So I'm talking about me, that's my pronoun, and Miss Shaymat is my noun. So just like we use we, takes a noun and a pronoun in the subject, us takes the place of a noun and a pronoun in the predicate. Now, some pronouns that are in the predicate talk about something that the subject does. And we call these reflexive pronouns. So you'll learn that word later, but I just want you to hear it so that you become familiar with it. Now, reflexive pronouns end with self or selves. Those are the word parts that you see added on to the end of the word. Now, we use self at the end of pronouns that talk about a singular pronoun. So I, he, she, you. We use self. We use selves when I'm talking about plurals, they, we, and so on. So I can do this by myself. So I and myself are both talking about me, right? So that's why this pronoun, this word part is added to the end of that pronoun to show you that it's about the speaker. It's someone talking about themselves. I can say he wrote the story himself. She baked a delicious cake by herself. So she and herself go together. They're both talking about the girl. He and himself go together. They're both talking about the boy. I and myself are both talking about me. And then, of course, you can use you. So you can ride a bike all by yourself. So you and yourself would go together. Now, for selves, we said that one takes the place of plurals. So they clean the park by themselves. So they and themselves goes together. We built the winning sandcastles for the contest by ourselves. So we and ourselves goes together. All right, let's go ahead and jump into our weekly stories. Our first story is called Once Upon a Baby Brother, and this is a fun story. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. Let's go ahead and listen to it together. This is a fictional story, and remember, fiction means it's made up. It's not a real story. And this story is written by Sarah Sullivan.
Genre, fiction. Once Upon a Baby Brother by Sarah Sullivan. Pictures by Tricia Tusa. From the day she could talk, Lizzie loved to tell stories. Tall ones, true ones, funny ones, sad ones. Lizzie loved them all. She entertained the people in her mother's office. And the little girl grew up to be president and brought her parents to live with her in the White House. She made up fairy tales to share with her father during their hikes up Mount Tilapia. After slaying dragons in the forest, the princess gave a surprise birthday party for the king. She spun yarns for Big George. The beautiful girl and her handsome dog took a rocket to the moon and discovered a new planet in the solar system. Everything was fine until her little brother Marvin came along. When Lizzie tried to tell a story before breakfast, her mother said, "Not now, dear, Marvin has a dirty diaper." When she tried to tell her father a story after dinner, he said, "Maybe later, Lizzie, it's time for Marvin's bath." Luckily for Lizzie, Big George still loved her stories. He would listen for hours. Stories about dogs were his favorite. The faithful Labrador rescued his master from the storm-tossed seas. Arf, arf! When Lizzie started second grade, she discovered that her teacher, Miss Pennyroyal, loved stories too. All the kids in Miss Pennyroyal's class got to write stories and take turns reading them out loud. The brave young girl rescued her teacher from the alligator pit. Lizzie loved Miss Pennyroyal's second grade. At home, Marvin loved his big sister Lizzie. He helped her make her bed. He helped her brush her teeth. He even shared his oatmeal. Lizzie couldn't wait to get to school every morning. At school, Miss Pennyroyal taught her students how to create interesting characters. "Think about what makes your character different from everybody else," she said, "and describe that in your stories." Easy peasy, thought Lizzie. She got out her Princess Merriweather pencil. While the other kids brainstormed, Lizzie started writing. She wrote all through recess. She was still writing while the other kids ate lunch. "Can I go first, please?" Lizzie asked when it was time to share stories out loud. "There's only one creature with footprints like this, Captain." "You don't mean—" "I'm afraid so, sir. The Yeti is on the rampage again." "Nice to see you using those new vocabulary words," said Miss Pennyroyal. "Thank you," said Lizzie. The next day, while Lizzie was at school, Marvin found a tube of golden glitter glue in Lizzie's desk drawer. He made golden glitter swirls all over her favorite stuffed bear, Sebastian. Lizzie was not amused. "Big sisters need to be patient," said Lizzie's mother. "Babies can't help making messes," said Lizzie's father. Lizzie curled up in her bedroom with her imagination notebook and wrote a new story. Once there was a beautiful princess who lived in a castle by the sea. She made her parents very happy. Then the ugly prince was born. He cried all the time and made lots of messes. So the beautiful princess banished the ugly prince to a desert island. "This castle is getting way too crowded," she told her trusty steed. Lizzie was happy to go to school the next day. The kids in Miss Pennyroyal's class were still writing stories about interesting characters. Lizzie had tons of ideas. It was hard to find time to write them all down. "Run for your lives! It's the Marvinosaurus! Marvin's the nastiest pirate that ever sailed the sea. Watch your fingers, there's a marvinfish circling below." "I don't believe I've ever heard of a marvinfish," said Miss Pennyroyal. "It must be very rare." "Oh, it is," said Lizzie. "You hardly ever see one." On Friday, Lizzie's mother announced she was taking Marvin to visit Grandma. "I hope you won't miss your little brother too much," she said. "No, Marvin!" Lizzie was thrilled. After spaghetti for dinner, she and her father played a long game of checkers. The next afternoon, Lizzie sharpened a whole box of pencils. She dusted the furniture in her Princess Merriweather magic castle. She rearranged the stuffed animals on her bed 12 times. But something was missing. At school, Miss Pennyroyal announced a new project. "Now that we know about creating characters, we're going to write our own comic books," she said. "Everyone needs to think of a character who will have lots of adventures." Lizzie took out her Princess Merriweather pencil. She doodled. She stared out the window. For the first time, she couldn't think of a single idea. That night, while Lizzie's father worked on a sales report for his meeting, Lizzie tried to work on her comic book. She drew stars on the cover of her imagination notebook. She stared at a liver-shaped spot on the ceiling. She even cleaned out her sock drawer. "Once in a far-off galaxy," she wrote, and then nothing. The next day at school, the kids in Miss Pennyroyal's class turned in their comic book projects, everyone except Lizzie. "Remember, the deadline is the day after tomorrow," said Miss Pennyroyal. "I know," Lizzie moaned. "Maybe you need fresh inspiration," said Miss Pennyroyal. "Maybe," said Lizzie. She chewed on the end of her Princess Merriweather pencil. "It was a dark and stormy night," she wrote, and then nothing. At home, Lizzie looked for inspiration. She listened to music and drew pictures on blank sheets of paper. She reread her favorite fairy tales. She studied the comics in the Sunday paper. Nothing helped. "I'll never think of a character for my comic book," Lizzie moaned. Stop and check. Summarize. What did Lizzie do for inspiration? Summarize what she did. She went downstairs for a glass of juice. Mugworts, said the chrysanthemum. Marvin, said Lizzie, when did you get home? Ziff whizzle, said Marvin. Then he knocked over Lizzie's juice. Oh, Marvin, said Lizzie. Loops, said Marvin. Lizzie thought about Miss Pennyroyal's instructions. Interesting characters. Lots of adventures. Lizzie carried her Princess Merriweather pencil upstairs. She wrote until bedtime and while she was brushing her teeth. She was still writing during recess the next day. Is your comic book ready to turn in? Asked Miss Pennyroyal. Not quite, said Lizzie. I need to show it to someone at home first. As long as you turn it in tomorrow, said Miss Pennyroyal. While her mother cooked dinner, Lizzie pulled Marvin into her lap. Listen to this, she said. The Amazing Adventures of Marvin with Big George the Wonder Dog. Run for your lives, yelled the mayor. Goo goo. Aliens have landed. They're taking over the city. Out of the sky swooped the amazing Marvin with Big George the Wonder Dog. Marvin sprayed the tiny villains with paralyzing purple slime. Soon all was peaceful in the city again. Yay, Marvin! The people cheered. The mayor gave Marvin the keys to the city. Long live the amazing Marvin! Everyone shouted. Lizzie gave Marvin a hug. Big George lifted his chin and howled. That's only the beginning, said Lizzie. Wait till you see what happens in episode 2. Stop and check. Summarize. Summarize what Lizzie did to write her comic book.
All right, that took us to the end of our first story. We're going to start our next one, which is an expository text. So remember, this is a kind of writing that gives us information and it gives us facts. Usually has pictures and captions and a lot of our text features like bold-faced words. Let's listen to this one called Bully Free Zone.
Bully Free Zone. No one likes to be bullied. Bullying is when one person picks on or hurts another person. Sometimes a bully teases or calls someone names. A bully might not let someone join activities. Bullying can also be pushing or hitting. Elementary school students in Seattle, Washington, learned new tools to stop bullying. Everyone in the school community worked together. Students, teachers, parents, and school workers all participated. Children from Seattle elementary schools worked together to stop bullying on the playground. During class, students learned how to be good friends and cooperate with others. Students learned what to do if they saw bullying interactions like teasing or someone being excluded. The students practiced speaking up if they saw bullying. They learned to be a friend to someone who is bullied. They helped the person walk away. Each week they had meetings to talk about bullying problems. Soon there was less bullying at Seattle schools. Students didn't name call on the playground. They didn't pick on others as much. School was more fun and safe for everyone. The program was a success. Texas elementary school students learned about bullying in an after-school program.
All right, that takes us to the end of our stories in our literature anthology. We'll go ahead and hop into our reading and writing workshop book and read our story over here called Soccer Friends.
Genre: fiction. Soccer friends. Essential question. How do people get along? Read about a girl who has a problem on the soccer field. Kelly couldn't wait until soccer season began. She could not be patient because she just loved racing to get the ball. She would use her imagination to picture the ball, and then she would fly toward it. Kelly practiced at home during the calm, peaceful mornings. At the first team practice, Kelly greeted her friends. She liked to chat and interact with them. Then she saw a new girl. "That's Selena. She's a really fast runner," reported Kelly's friend Tara. At first, Kelly held her tongue and said nothing. She was worried. She had always been the fastest runner on the team. Then she said, "I can beat her." When practice started, Coach Troy had everyone line up for races. Kelly was nervous and had butterflies in her stomach. "On your mark, get set, go," the coach shouted. Kelly ran as fast as she could, but she noticed Selena getting ahead of her. Kelly tried her best but couldn't match Selena. Later, Kelly watched as Selena entertained some girls by bouncing the ball on her head. The girls laughed, but Kelly was not amused. That night, Mom could tell Kelly was upset. "Can you describe what's wrong?" she asked. "A new girl named Selena beat me at the races. It stinks to get beaten," said Kelly. "I know that's disappointing for you," Mom said, "but it also sounds like good news for your team." Kelly thought about her mom's words. She cared about the team, but she liked being the fastest. At the next practice, the team played a game. Kelly and Selena were on the same team, and Selena was goalie. She quickly blocked a goal. Then Kelly got the ball and thumped it hard toward the net. She scored the winning goal. After practice, Selena said to Kelly, "You were really great today." "Thanks. So were you. I think our team can be great if we cooperate and work together," said Kelly. "I think you're right about that," said Selena. "I'd love to keep playing," Kelly said. "Want to come over to my house and practice?" Make connections. How does Kelly learn to get along with Selena on the soccer field? Compare Kelly's problem to a time you have had to work to get along with others.
All right, that takes us to the end of our stories for this week. Now we're going to talk about our comprehension strategy and skill for this week. So our comprehension strategy is to summarize. Now, when we summarize a story, we're just telling the important parts. So think about when you want to tell your friend about a story that you read or a movie that you watched. You're not telling them every single word of the movie or story. You're telling them the important parts. You are summarizing the story for them. And when we get to point of view, the point of view of a speaker or a character is what that speaker or character thinks or feels about what's going on in the story. So they'll use specific words to let you know that they're happy about something, that they like something, or maybe they're upset about something, or they dislike something, and so on. So the point of view is the feelings and the thoughts of the person who's sharing them.
Summarize. To summarize a story, you tell only the most important events of the story in your own words. Use details from the story to summarize the story. Find text evidence. After reading page 349 of Soccer Friends, I can summarize what happens at the beginning of the story by retelling the key events and details. Kelly couldn't wait until soccer season began. She could not be patient because she just loved racing to get the ball. She would use her imagination to picture the ball, and then she would fly toward it. Kelly practiced at home during the calm, peaceful mornings. At the first team practice, Kelly greeted her friends. She liked to chat and interact with them. Then she saw a new girl. "That's Selena. She's a really fast runner," reported Kelly's friend Tara. At first, Kelly held her tongue and said nothing. She was worried. She had always been the fastest runner on the team. Then she said, "I can beat her." I read that Kelly is worried that the new girl on her soccer team will be a faster runner than she is. Point of view. Point of view is what the characters think and how they feel about the events in a story. Look for clues about a character's point of view in the text. Find text evidence. On page 350, Kelly is upset that she lost the race to Selena. Kelly says, "It stinks to get beaten." This is Kelly's point of view. Graphic organizer. Character. Kelly. Clue. It stinks to get beaten. Point of view. Kelly feels upset that she lost the race to Selena. Fiction. The story Soccer Friends is fiction. Fiction has made-up characters and events, has a problem and a solution. Find text evidence. I can use what I read to tell that Soccer Friends is fiction. The characters and setting are made up. There is also a problem and a solution. Story structure. In the beginning of the story, I see there is a problem. Kelly is worried that the new girl on the soccer team might be faster than she is. Idioms. Idioms are words or phrases that have different meanings than the real meanings of the words. Look for clues in nearby words or sentences to find the meaning of an idiom. Find text evidence. I read that Kelly would fly toward the ball. I know people cannot fly, so this must be an idiom. Another sentence tells how Kelly enjoys racing to get the ball. I think this idiom means that Kelly moves quickly. She would use her imagination to picture the ball, and then she would fly toward it.
All right, that takes us to the end of our notes. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I hope you have an amazing week. Take care. Bye-bye.